We were on a 747 heading for Mount Everest. We were going to crash into the side of the mountain. So yeah, we bailed out. We gave everyone a parachute and we said, let's try. Let's start a new business. We started quite a few new businesses.
Okay.
And
how many did you start?
I started 5.
In this episode of The Little Black Book, I'm joined by Toby Bensimon. Toby is the Managing Director of Transworld Enterprises, which owns the prominent Shiels and Graham's jewellery brands. With the two brands established in 1945 and 1932 respectively, they have a combined legacy of over 150 years servicing the Australian and South Australian consumer. In this episode, you'll hear about how 2 solo trips to France as an 11 and 13-year-old boy established a culture of bravery that has set the scene for future entrepreneurship. How he and his father successfully managed a generational transfer of the management of the business. Toby talks about the importance of breaking bread and how social interactions create a relaxed environment for the generation of great ideas. He describes how he established a crisis management team during the COVID shutdowns and how that team navigated the business through the turmoil, and also the importance of a strong online brand and how that vision many years ago has set the scene for growth. Welcome to The Little Black Book, a podcast for entrepreneurs by entrepreneurs who provide their first-hand experiences to help others learn and grow. This podcast is brought to you by Altitude Advisory. Altitude Advisory is a modern business advisory firm helping business owners build a better business for a better life. Favourite movie of all time?
The Big Lebowski.
Right.
I like anything by the Coen brothers. That was the first one that came to my mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jeff Bridges?
Yeah, I love that guy.
Okay. What is it? Is this a personal connection that you have, or?
Yeah, I don't pee on my carpet, but I definitely like a White Russian from time to time.
Right.
And his attitude, his beard, his demeanor, it's kind of like where I aim in life is to be as relaxed as that.
It's pretty cruisy and chilled and...
Yeah, I probably don't want the things that happen to him in that movie to happen to me. But yeah, I love that. I love all the Coen brothers movies. They're just incredible directors.
Yeah, cool. Is there a book that as a child or a young adult, mate, that had a real effect on you and why?
Yeah, there was a book. I actually knew the author, Paul Davies. He's a physicist, and it was called The Last 3 Minutes, about how the cosmos will end. It's written off the back of a book called The First 3 Minutes,
right? Which
was written in the 70s.
Yeah,
and anyway, he was a professor at Adelaide. I think at Adelaide Uni, professor of physics.
Right.
And it's just a fascinating book. It talks about Olber's paradox and all these really deep, mathematical thoughts and theories, but puts it in a really layman terms. And as a kid, I was just blown away by all of that stuff.
Right, like all the maths and
all
possibilities and things like that.
Yeah, and how the universe will end. All the leading theories about how that's going to happen and how it began and all of that sort of stuff. So cosmology and all that is a subject dear to my heart.
Right.
And it was like a gateway drug to other books like Carl Sagan and a lot of the heavier books.
Yeah, okay.
But very good book.
So a mate of mine is an ex-monk, on our call him the corporate monk, Dan Depani, and one of the things that he talks about is having an end date or having a focus to put things in perspective.
Yeah.
So I'm curious with reading the last 3 minutes and how the universe is going to end and all these sort of things, whether you follow that and you say, the universe could end in a week's time, I've got to go and do this. Does that drive or motivate any of your behaviours?
If I'm ever having like a heated discussion in a boardroom, I just think about how the universe is going to come to a crunch. That sort of puts it in perspective. I find that if my mind wanders there, I feel at peace. If I'm thinking about things much bigger than myself, I kind of like it. I find it really meditative, I suppose.
Yeah, cool. What about the most transformative travel experience that you've ever had and why?
Oh, that's an easy one. It's actually a 2-part series, this one, because my parents shipped me off to France on my own when I was 11 years old.
Right.
To learn French. And I stayed with a family who I didn't know.
Yeah.
He met them through Rotary. And I was staying in a little town called Caen in the north, in Normandy.
Yeah.
And you got to be careful how you say that word because it can also mean but it's
right.
it's Caen. Anyway, and so I learned French fluently. I stayed there for a month that time. And then when I was 13, I went back and stayed with family in Paris. 3 months on your own as a 13-year-old kid is actually, it's pretty, they say it was scary for them to send me off, but I thought it was the most amazing thing ever. Yeah. So I came back bilingual and came back with a just an understanding that I can get by on my own.
Wow, that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So can you still speak French now?
Je parle français couramment. Yeah, I speak it fluently. I've kept it up and, speak it all the time.
Wow, that is very cool. And was there anything particular about those trips, apart from jumping on a plane as an 11-year-old and then again as a 13-year-old, going across to the other side of the world, staying with people you don't know? Was there anything apart from those dramatic things that you really remember about those two trips that have stayed with you and help define who you are, mate?
Well, definitely. I mean, when I was 11, I was right on the beach in this little beach town, a tiny little town. Kind of, if I had a spare moment, they had a fixie bike.
Yeah.
And so I'd ride my bike along the boardwalk for hours, along this coastline, not realizing how beautiful it was. In hindsight, I probably should have paid more attention to that, but I became a cyclist because of that.
Yeah, okay.
And that stuck with me. And I ride every weekend. I ride as often as I can. I'm a mountain biker now, but that's where I got a taste for it.
Was there anything that has captivated your curiosity, with past history, with World War II and things like that?
You definitely see it over there, but what stuck with me the most was the war I had at school, because I went to school there, and the teachers gave me detention a lot because they're a lot stricter over there than in Australia. So I took a while to adjust to the fact that you can't answer back and you can't sort of monkey around as much. So I did a lot of walks late in the dark, late home to my billeting parents' house. Yeah,
no, that's very cool. Because I know with Rotary, with these exchanges and stuff like that, generally you go and then you reciprocate back the other way.
Yeah,
so
we did.
Did you have kids come and stay with you?
Yeah, Thomas, he's a good bloke. I'm no longer in contact with him, but he was good. We stayed in contact for many, many years, but we've grown apart now. But he came and stayed with us for the same period of time. Yeah. And left a fluent English speaker. Yeah. So, it was good for both of us.
No, that's very cool. Now, mate, I'm going to go down this little rabbit hole. Your dad, Albert, is quite famous.
Yep.
In terms of, he used to do all his, own TV commercials and things like that for the jewelry business. And he's famous for his, the ban the hoo-ha or no hoo-ha commercials. Yeah. Is that something, mate, that stuck with you? Did you used to get that at school, and do you still carry it around with your mates, giving you a bit of a ribbing around any of that sort of stuff?
Absolutely. I don't know if I can swear on this podcast.
Well, mate, we're okay.
Well, no hoo-ha. He wanted to say no bullshit. Our prices are no bullshit. Our company's no bullshit. Yeah. But they wouldn't pass it through the body that approves ads. Just said you can't say that.
Right.
So he used no hoo-ha, and that's stuck with us in the business for sure. We still hold that philosophy as a core principle of our business. Yeah. But in terms of friends giving you a ribbing out, they'll use any excuse, right?
Yeah.
So they used that, absolutely. That among many other things that are wrong with me.
Yeah. No, I could just see, you standing at the front bar of the local establishment or whatever with your mates, and they're just barreling into you. No hoo-ha.
That's part of growing up in Australia.
Yeah. Cool. We'll talk a bit about the business. Now, retail has gone through, a huge amount of rapid change in recent years, and we've seen even more dramatic stuff happen in the last 12 months as a result of COVID. And, I'm really interested to hear how it's impacted you guys, how you've managed to pivot and navigate your way through those evolving changes, if you like.
We were an early investor in online. In fact, we're probably one of the first jewelers to engage in e-commerce, I would say, if not the first. And we certainly have the biggest website. And leading into coronavirus, we had the biggest jewelry website in Australia. Yeah. And so we over-invested. We were definitely investing way more than we probably should have, because it was a real passion of quite a few people, my general manager, myself, a few people in the group who really wanted to own that space. Yeah. And then, when Corona came crashing through the door, we thought we were going to go broke. And the only thing that really saved us with, in hindsight, we probably shouldn't have been that scared, but was the online piece, which just boomed. And, you think about it, there are probably 4,000 jewelers in Australia. Yeah. And maybe only 7 or 8 reasonably big websites. So all of that commerce sort of filtered through those websites. So it was actually really a big boost for our online e-commerce piece. Yeah.
So, aside from that online, and what's your vision, or how did you strategically identify with your GM that online was something that was coming.
Yeah.
Obviously you were vindicated then with your investment. You called it overinvestment, but vindicated with your investment in the development of the platforms. How did you strategically identify that was something that you needed to chase, whether it be, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years ago?
It was something that Dad taught me many, many years ago, where he stopped advertising in the newspaper. He used to put a piece of jewelry in there and get 150 sales, and then he got 100, then 50, and then I remember asking him, like, what made you pull the pin? And he said that trajectory just became really clear that medium wasn't working for our business. It still works for lots of other businesses, but for ours it just wasn't resonating. And we started to see the same trend emerging in television, way before 6-7 years ago. It just stopped working as well as it used to. So we started investing all of that money, pulling down from our traditional spend and putting it into Google and Facebook, and just saw traction. So that was the reason why. It was really the marketing piece that led us down that direction.
Yeah, okay. And so how does it work now? Because you've still got, how many stores you got? You got, 50 stores Australia-wide, or more than 50 stores Australia-wide in most states. How do you find the balance then between the traditional retail footprint and the online? Have you seen that pivot, and where do you see it going?
They complement each other. We used to have a goal of getting to 100 stores, and that's changed. Now we're looking at probably topping out around 60 in really high quality shopping centres across Australia, and using the online piece to complement it. But shopping is always going to be here. Bricks and mortar will always be here. It will not disappear. It's just got to be augmented and complemented by click and collect and by the online piece. So I think it's a complementary picture that we're is emerging.
So then I guess that leads to the next question. COVID obviously was pretty dramatic in the last 12 months in relation to that traditional bricks and mortar footprint, when we got lockdowns in I guess varying levels across different states, and how did you manage that? You flagged, well, we thought we were going to go broke. Online helped you through. How did you manage the challenges around the COVID restrictions and all the other bits and pieces that were going on in the traditional retail space?
It reminds me of a quote. Mike Tyson said, "Everyone has a strategy until they get hit in the face." And it felt like we had all these strategies worked out, and every day they changed, because we'd be watching Nicholas Spurrier or Stephen Marshall, on Facebook, giving a talk about what the new rules were, and we just had to change on the spot. Everything was changing on the spot, and it's still changing. I mean, the COVID relief, and then JobKeeper. I mean, that JobKeeper was a master stroke of policy. It just saved everybody, really. I mean, it gave us comfort that we could actually see this through. And I think the government, both state and federal, handled this thing flawlessly. Incredible, really. But the strategy and getting the team on board with our, with the directives that were coming out from social media, from the government, was a really hard task, as it was for everyone, not just in retail.
And I can imagine, like, developing policies and procedures and work from home, or all these different things would have been quickly evolving in your space, like others as well.
It was happening in real time. So as soon as the announcements were being made, we were just typing out our internal policies and feeding them out to our operations team, who were also incredible. And our stores traded all the way through. It was incredible, and not at our insistence. They insisted, particularly in Perth, where our Perth stores just did not want to stop working. So we got on Zoom, and all of our managers were managers that were sitting at home were talking to managers in Perth, saying, just get back to work, and it just infected them. So this vibe of let's just actually be productive started to spread throughout the organisation, and everyone went back to work early. So we were open when most other retail businesses were closed. And that was a massive win for us, emotionally and on so many levels. It was so cool to see our team just be passionate about their livelihoods.
And I suppose from a consumer perspective too, being open and still having a presence and I guess a commitment to serve or be available, probably create a lot of brand resilience or brand trust. In the face of others not being there to support people or be available to people when perhaps they wanted it.
Well, some were shut months after they. We were never instructed to be closed in South Australia. Or in WA, except for that 5-day snap shutdown. And the ones that stayed closed for the 3-4 months, they're regretting that, and they're suffering. It's not I think we followed the policies that were being released by the government to the letter, and we managed it that way, and acted accordingly, and it worked to our advantage.
Yeah, cool. Did you, with that going on, did you establish a special working group or crisis management committee or anything like that internally to deal with this stuff?
Yeah, all the exec team, we met every day on Zoom, and we just discussed, what was the plan for that day, and just executed. So it was a lot of extra work.
Yeah.
But that sort of half-hour meeting with Dad and my GM and my head of operations and all of the execs, it was really ended up being really fun. Like it ended up being quite a fun thing because, we did actually think we were going broke.
Yeah.
So we thought we might as well have fun while we're going broke. And we made it fairly lighthearted and amusing. But yeah, it was definitely what got us through. Yeah.
Cool. And did you think with everything going on with COVID, did you think that you'd have to pivot and go and start other avenues or other businesses or anything like that while this was all happening?
Mate, we were on a 747 heading for Mount Everest. We're going to crash into the side of the mountain. So we bailed out. We gave everyone a parachute and we said, let's start a new business. We started quite a few new businesses.
Okay.
And
how many did you start?
I started 5. We started 5.
Wow.
Yeah, so one is Bureau Booths. It's been really successful actually.
Yeah.
So it's internal office furniture.
Yeah.
If you don't want to fit out your office, if you've got an open plan office but you need privacy, it's like an internal booth.
Right.
And then a couple of other businesses that we started as well.
So cool. So, instead of just, resting on your laurels or sitting on your hands and waiting for things to get better, I thought, okay, well, how do we go and do something about it? And we start 5 new businesses.
Well, what we did, we had this whiskey group on Thursday nights where we would drink whiskey and talk about how we could survive.
Yeah.
It was with a group of people would swan in and out of it, but probably a core group of about 15 people.
Yeah.
So people with ideas and people with cash, and we were just trying to work out how to fund a good idea.
Yeah.
And a lot of them came out of those whiskey sessions.
Yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So is that whiskey group, is that a group of old schoolmates or is it just, professional network contacts or around the place or?
Just people like my web developer and a couple of mates that, it was a random ramshackle group of hooligans really.
Yeah.
We all thought we were going to go broke. Some of us did. But life goes on.
Yeah. You've got those 5 businesses that you've started, but you've also got a couple other things that you're involved in too that are pretty decent sized businesses. And how do you actually juggle then the day-to-day role as managing director of the core business with these other interests that you've got significant financial interest in?
My goal in life is to do nothing, and I'm heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
Like the Big Lebowski, Jeff Bridges.
Big children.
Yeah, and also really what it is about finding the right people to run the companies. I'm not the CEO of any of the new companies I've started. On the board and an investor and, helping, but not in the day-to-day. So Shiels and Graham's are still my core businesses.
Yeah.
And, the rest is just, after hours, before hours, a few Zoom calls here and there, but nothing too onerous.
Yeah. Now, I guess the extension of that, apart from these other, I'll call them side hustles that you've got, that, might take a bit of board responsibility. Now, you're not far away from being a new dad.
Yeah.
So it's only 6 weeks away or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Excited?
Very excited.
Your wife, Lauren, excited?
Super excited and really happy, having a very good pregnancy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's half the battle. So, well, hopefully, if the baby takes on anything like, dad will be, chilled like the, Jeff Bridges, Big Lebowski. How do you see that potentially evolving and juggling then, I suppose, the new challenges of fatherhood with being, CEO, managing director of Shiels Graham, plus all these other board roles of these other things that you've got on the go? Have you thought through that?
Well, I've been told I need to be like Bruce Willis and duct tape nappies to my back. You know how he pulls the machine gun off his back in Die Hard? So I've just got to be prepared and have strategically placed baby-related stuff throughout the house so that when nature calls, I'm ready. But I think I'm ready. I hope I'm ready.
Yeah.
People say you can't prepare, but I feel like I'm as prepared as I'll ever be.
Yeah. No, but it's exciting, in terms of having that car. So I hope everything goes well for you and Lauren. It's definitely a life-changing experience of having been there. So it's very exciting for you guys. Mate, what are some of the other obstacles that you've faced in business?
one of the biggest obstacles is holding on to certain things that we think a jeweler should be. And that's been a big obstacle. So we always invested in big diamonds, big this, big that, and sort of triaging that and realizing that we can run a business more efficiently. That's been a big challenge for us. A lot of people in the organization didn't want to come along that journey.
Yeah.
You know, they came along, all of them, but it was sometimes unwillingly.
Yeah.
And also working with Dad has been a challenge. It's been awesome, but you talk to your dad the way you talk to your dad, you know, and he talks to me as a son the way, you know. And so when we were doing the transition from, you know, when he was handing over the business to me, it was probably about two years of difficulty, and now we've come out the end of it a few years ago now, probably for the last 4 years. It's been really pleasant. Yeah, but that was a huge challenge. I can see how it could have made us come unstuck. Yeah, but I'm so glad we pulled through it, and now just really enjoy working with Dad.
Yeah, it's cool. And look, this is quite. I wouldn't mind exploring that a bit more if we can, mate. Because succession or transition in family businesses is, it's not just a common thing. It can always be a source of conflict or tension or whatever as the baton or the buck gets passed from one generation to the next. So what are some of the things that either worked really well with you and your dad or didn't work so well with you and your dad?
Well, it's interesting. One of our board members, a really interesting guy, has since retired. His name's Ian Ellis. He said it's going to take about 3 years to the day, because he'd worked on a lot of boards of family businesses. He said it always takes about 3 years to transition through this difficult period when someone watches their kid or even someone who they've employed to take over as CEO when they've done it their whole life. There's always a bit of conflict there. And ours actually ended up taking a bit less than that, 2 years. But I suppose the thing is pausing and taking a moment to absorb what is essentially a very wise person who's built this business from the ground up has got to say, instead of, challenging them like you would if you're at the dinner table just talking to your dad. Yeah. This is my boss as well. And I think it was really important to always put that in perspective, that he has some degree of wisdom in what he's doing. And, I might be wrong, but just constantly maybe doubting yourself until you feel confident that you're almost on the same page. Yeah. Maybe that was the key finding for me. And at the beginning, for the first year, I knew everything, right? Yeah. But then you realize that, he had accumulated a lot of wisdom over the years.
Yeah. Did you sit down when you started the process together with your dad and work out a plan of what you wanted it to look like at the end? What a good outcome would be? Did you set a bit of a destination or a goal or a roadmap for that?
Not really. I mean, we're not the kind of family that does a lot of strategic planning like that. We just sort of bit down on the piece of leather and then hope that the electric shock therapy would be over. Okay. But it wasn't as torturous as that. It was the transition, like I said, it was probably a year of tough and then a year of getting used to it, and then out the other side it's been really pleasant.
Yeah, cool. Dad's still involved?
Yeah, he's at work every day. I don't want Dad to retire because whenever there's a fork in the road and it's something really scary that, my GM and I haven't experienced before, we tap him for some advice and he generally gives us, really good advice.
Yeah. So he's not in any hurry to, disappear and, go and sit on a boat somewhere and do nothing.
That guy, he's scuba diving and running around. Like, he's very energetic. Yeah. And needed in our business.
Yeah, cool. What about some of the goals that you've set for yourself that you're yet to achieve?
Oh, there's 2 businesses that I need to create before I die.
Yeah. One
is a co-working space for warehousing. Yeah. If you think about like all these people who have actual widgets, like who are selling shoes or who've started a clothing company or whatever, there's all these incubators to help you start a business. But there's no one who can say, I can drive the forklift for you. Yeah. I can actually do the 3PL for you. I mean, there are 3PL companies, but you can't usually go in and look at your stock anytime you want. So I think there's a great business idea for like a co-working space with, commercial warehousing attached to it. Yeah. That would be a cool business to start. Yeah. And there's one other one that we're working on at the moment, which we'll launch soon, which is
keep that one under wraps.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's cool. Anything personal on the bucket list that you really want to do that you haven't managed to achieve yet?
Yeah, I want to set up an office in France and do business in France somehow. Like, give me an excuse to go over there for, a couple months a year with my wife and kids. so that we can, have a taste of the French lifestyle.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely a personal and business goal. They're related.
Yeah. Well, I suppose with technology and Zoom and all that sort of stuff now, there's no reason why you couldn't actually go and do that tomorrow, is there?
No, and I'm going to be used to. I suppose I'm going to have to get used to the late nights. With my new daughter coming.
Yeah.
So
just working in different hours.
Just jump on Zoom at 3 a.m. It'll be fine.
So wait till the COVID jab comes out, and then we might see you on a plane to France.
One can only hope. I'd love to achieve that goal.
Cool, mate. Do you have a life motto?
Yeah, it's the path of excess leads to the palace of wisdom. It's actually a quote by William Blake, the poet. And
okay.
Yeah, I always find that the best business ideas come over a couple bottles of wine.
Yeah.
And a mate, and then they never come to us sober at a boardroom.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. There seems to be a bit of a theme here with you. So
Yes.
the path of excess and over a couple bottles of wine and whiskey club.
Yes.
What is the favourite beverage then?
A wine, definitely.
wine?
I'm a wine guy.
Okay.
Always have been. But I like whiskey too.
Okay.
I like all of them, but I think wine is definitely a super important part of my life.
Yeah. Particular region and varietal?
Australian Grenache from McLaren Vale.
Okay.
I think we make the best Grenache in the world.
Yeah.
And I think McLaren Vale makes the best Grenache on planet Earth.
Underrated, isn't it?
It's just incredible.
Yeah.
It's so juicy and it's just amazing.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite label you want to give a plug to?
Yangara.
Okay.
I really like Yangara. I like all of them, but I think Yangara is just killing it in that space. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. Do you have a mentor?
Yeah, I do. I've got Glenn Simpson is a guy I've been working with. I'm in a tech group.
Yep.
And he's the chair. He's an incredible guy. He's a very calming influence on me. He's turned me more into the Big Lebowski. I used to be a little bit more like a lot of the other characters in like Nicolas Cage in one of those Coen Brothers movies.
Yeah.
I was a bit more like him in Raising Arizona. But yeah, I think since meeting Glenn, I've definitely mellowed.
Yeah.
And it's been to my advantage because I probably need that to get perspective on where I am. And also just dividing my time. He's helped me rearrange, how I divide my time up in various things I'm doing. And I suppose my dad as well. You can't really say your dad's your mentor, but I do look up to him, and I think he's got a lot of wisdom to add.
Cool. And I suppose with your tech group as well, you've got a forum of people there that you can hang out with and run ideas by, and I suppose that can support you with various challenges as well.
Most definitely. It's been a real game changer joining that group, and surrounding yourself with people who've had a lot more experience than me, who instead of maybe giving you advice, they've lived through it and can tell you firsthand what you need to do.
Yeah.
It's a golden opportunity to be working with people who have been through it.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, mate. Enjoyed the chat. Thank you for joining us.
Likewise. Cool. Thanks. Hey guys, I'm Toby Bensimon. I'm the Managing Director of Shiels and Graham's Jewelers, and I'm here joining you on Little Black Book.